Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Friday the 19th of October. So looking at the euro dollar as ever to start with, and well, the previous day's pivot swing ended up in continuation, follow through down towards this key trend line, I would suggest, on the euro here. Now if it starts breaking through here, well, support seems limited. There's a slight amount of support at the absolute lows there, but beyond that you're really looking down towards the monthly S2 before you see any obvious support in the near term anyway. Obviously there's the round numbers at 114 which may hold on, but then as I said, you start really then looking down towards those 113.50 area. So where to today and this morning? Well, looking at it at the moment, it's struggling to bounce from where it is. It's around the prior lows here. It's not quite made an absolute low. It is struggling to find any traction at the moment to the upside. Its daily pivot is not far away. It's not like a big move away. You can thank Draghi for this little spike up yesterday, which is really, as much as he was bullish on the market initially, he then comments on the protectionism or the risk, the Trump factor, effectively. So where to today? Well, possibly daily pivot. It may pitch through that a little bit, but if we see it coming off from there, I would prefer to be on the short side, because it's just literally, it's got a little below it, and of course the trend. So we'll see how it pans out this morning. If it goes before then, well, it may be we get a sell-off, a strongish sell-off this morning, maybe catch a bounce on it, but I'd much rather be selling this than buying it at the moment, unless something comes out that changes that significantly. Okay, so looking bearish euro dollar. He says, and then he goes and buys it. Not now this pound, you've got this huge sort of head and shoulder pattern that's been sort of forming over this time. It's looking soft without any doubt. From a daily perspective, it put in a pivot swing the day before. That's been followed through yesterday as well. From a 4-hour perspective, well, it does look soft. Up until now, I've been thinking, well, there is the risk that something good is going to come and be said, and it's going to pop the pound up. But maybe we can play the shorts on it if it sets up something today. Now, where could we be looking for? Well, again, the daily pivot would be nice to be seen. Maybe watch and let it run through it. If it does, the 60-minute 50 would be probably the prime point if it got there quickly, but it almost needs something to drive it there. And I'm just thinking, well, if it's weak and it's running into that daily pivot, maybe it becomes an opportunity to sell. Now, one thing here again, the consolidation around these lows is not, well, is possibly pitching up a little bit stronger in some respects. It's, from a daily perspective, it's still in that sort of slightly more bullish sort of zone, although it won't take too much. I mean, it's certainly in the near term here. It's put lower highs in, so it's bearish in a slight upward trend. But I wonder a little bit, but I still think if it pops up this morning into any of these sort of key levels, I would be looking maybe at shorting it. There doesn't look to be too much on the horizon that's positive for the pound at the moment. Famous last words, he says. Okay, the yen is having a little bit of a bounce. It may be a bit of unwinding of money again. So I was talking about this yesterday with one of our YouTube subscribers, and we're sort of just commenting on this. There is the potential to break down. Fundamentally, it's still a weak currency, the yen, though. It's maybe it wants a little bit more of a chip up here. We'll see, but it does remain fundamentally weak. If it was to break, of course, I'll come back to that daily. If it was to break this trend line, it does change it a little bit, and it gives that sort of head and shouldery sort of pattern, the potential to come down to sort of the 108s, but that may take some time if it was to do that. But For now, I do wonder whether the fundamentals will push it further to the upside, the weak fundamentals overall. In terms of the picture here, it's not a clear picture from that, for me anyway. I'm maybe just looking at it in morning eyes. Pushing through here on the 60 minutes. Well, it's already gone through the daily. At the moment, it looks like, well, maybe it could push up towards its daily R1 area, those prior highs there. Maybe get a reversal around that and soften up for the day, but really doesn't inspire me at the moment. The dollar yen, Aussie dollar. Now here's one that's having a bit more of a. It's had a sell-off. It's put a bearish pivot swing, which is triggered just about. So it has triggered a sort of a bearish signal there. Lower highs coming through here, but having a bit of a bounce at the moment. Whether it can hold on is another matter. It's already through its daily pivot into some key resistance now with this 60-50. There's a decent retracement there. Looks at least a 50% retracement. He says now I'm going to have to measure it because I've said such a thing. I need to give it a quick measure and check where it is. Well, that'll do is a 50% retracement. So that's it, at least marginally over. But we'll see how that hangs in there. That could, if the other markets sell off, well, that could follow through. It could get a run through though, of course, if those markets start running through. We see a bit of dollar softness. That could. It's a shame it's done this now as opposed to all matching up with the other, because it's quite a clean run up there. It does run soft at times when the other markets are running soft. It can run soft too, or softer. It's in that bigger downward trend on the dailies. Canadian dollar seen a bit of softening in the price of oil. There was comments through my news service last night suggesting, or from OPEC, suggesting that certain bearish factors would cause oil price to fall in the coming weeks. Well, we'll see. That would be negative for the Canadian dollar and may push it out of this, what was a bit of a bearish trend on this longer term picture. But of course, with the higher lows coming through here, it's certainly in the intermediate time frames is showing quite a bullish push at the moment, and well, maybe there may be some more bullishness to be had in that. Again, it's sort of sitting there, and maybe it'll run through back to its 60-50 and give it with the R1 or something like that, and give the opportunity of a bounce. But again, it's sitting there at a key level, just a bit like the Aussie dollar really. You could do with it just hanging in here and then showing signal to move up at least towards that daily R1. Okay, news-wise today, where are we sitting with the news then? Not a lot really. We've had the GDP data coming out for China, which came in a bit disappointing. Has a knock-on effect in that region. We've got a speaker. I think he must have spoken by now. The Bank of Japan governor must have spoken. That was at 7:30. So yep, he's 7:55. UK this morning, public net borrowing. It's not a big mover. It may cause a blip. But then you've got 1:30, and it's mainly Canadian data today until Carney speaks at 5:10 this afternoon, evening, whenever. It is technically afternoon. I'm even arguing with myself now. Due to speak at the Economic Club of New York. Oh, I wish I could become a member of that. Only to travel to New York, of course. No other reason. There we go. Have a great weekend even. I'll be back on Monday.